Name's Jake Miller. I've been running freight up and down the Midwest long enough to know when something's off, even if I can't explain it right away. I don't care much for fancy stories or big words. I just keep the wheels turning, watch my gauges, and mind my stops. But let me tell you, experience don't mean squat when the wrong thing creeps in under the radar. Sometimes it's the little stuff that gets you, not the big boom, just a slow leak, quiet damage. You don't even know it's happened until it's halfway done. That run started like any other. I picked up a full load of palletized dry goods from a warehouse outside Omaha. Regular stuff, mixed freight, paper towels, canned goods, some dry pet food, the kind of load that pays okay but doesn't raise eyebrows. Dispatch routed me straight down I-35, Kansas stretch. Destination, Fort Worth. I wasn't in any rush, 2.5 days if I paced it right. Weather was clear, dry wind blowing west, typical for late spring. I topped off the tanks in Salina around mid-afternoon. Love station, nothing unusual. Did my walk around while the pump clicked, checked my straps, tires, light test. All clean. Grabbed the chicken sandwich and a bottle of Coke, took a piss, and hit the road again. The truck was pulling smooth. My old Freightliner ain't pretty, but she's tuned right. I know her sounds, I know when she breathes heavy, and I know when something ain't right. Couple hours later, somewhere past Emporia, I pulled into a turnout just off the highway. Not a truck stop, just one of those wide gravel pull-offs where you can stretch your legs, maybe pee behind a tree if you don't care for the porta potty. I wasn't planning to stay long, just needed a break, clear my head, kill the engine for a few. Wind was up, kicking dust in the air, nothing but open fields and that hum of the interstate behind me. I lit a smoke, walked a slow loop around the cab. That's when I smelled it. Diesel. Faint, not strong, just enough to wrinkle my nose. Now, sometimes after a fill-up, you get a little residue on your hands or boots, or maybe the pump splashed a bit. Happens. I checked the ground under the tank, dry. Checked at the gravel, didn't see no fresh stain. Touched the side of the tank, cold metal, dry. I gave the cap a twist. It moved, just a hair, like it wasn't seated tight. I frowned, but didn't think much more of it at the time. Maybe I didn't lock it all the way in Salina. Hell, I've been distracted before. Phone buzzes, a guy walks past, a loudspeaker goes off. Takes a second and your muscle memory fumbles. Happens. I pushed it in, gave it a good twist, heard the click. Smell lingered a bit, but I figured the wind might have carried it from some other rig that stopped there before me. Didn't see any fresh tracks, but I wasn't exactly CSI. Got back in the cab, fired her up, and eased back onto the highway. The rest of the run that night was easy. Flat miles, light traffic. I rolled into a roadside motel just past El Dorado.
Not a chain. Local joint. Probably family-owned. $50 cash, no questions asked. My kind of place. Parked the truck where I could see her from the window, checked the latch on the back doors one last time, and hauled my bag up to the room. Laid on the bed, boots still on, flipping channels on the old CRT. Couldn't settle. Not tired enough to sleep, not awake enough to care. That diesel smell kept popping into my head. Not strong, just nagging. It was the kind of thing that don't make sense because it doesn't scream emergency. If you ignore it, nobody blames you. If you obsess over it, you look paranoid. I lay there trying to remember exactly how that cap felt when I unscrewed it. Was it loose, or did it just seem loose? Was the thread dirty? Was the seal warped? And then I started running through the rest stop in my mind. Was anyone else there? I didn't think so. No headlights, no engines idling, but maybe someone parked back in the grass line just out of sight. Maybe someone walking. And I had left the truck for what? 10 minutes? Maybe 12? Long enough for someone to pop a cap and do something small. Just a rag in the filler neck, maybe. Could be nothing. Or it could be enough to mess up my fuel mix, clog something down the line, drop pressure, and burn up a pump. Doesn't take much. Doesn't have to blow the truck up, just enough to make it not run right. I thought about heading back out with a flashlight, checking it again, but I didn't. I stayed in that room, staring at the ceiling fan, listening to the faint rumble of semis on the highway. You learn to tell the weight of a rig just by the sound of the tires on pavement. Loaded, empty, bobtail. It's all music if you know the chords. But that night it felt off-tempo. I slept maybe 4 hours, woke up before dawn, skipped breakfast, didn't feel like eggs. When I got back to the truck, I went straight to the tank. Bent down slow. Sniffed. Nothing strong. Reached for the cap. Still tight, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something had been off the night before. It was just a gut itch, and in this line of work, gut itches mean something, even if they don't come with evidence. I pulled out a rag from the side box and wiped around the filler neck, even shoved a pinky end to feel around the thread and neck interior. Felt clean, maybe a little residue, but nothing chunky. No loose cloth. Still, I couldn't let it go. You ever smelled diesel when you weren't supposed to? Not like a spill, not like a leaky line, just something faint, out of place. I can't shake the idea that someone touched my rig when I wasn't looking. Someone tried to start something small. You ever get that feeling? Tell me, I want to know if it's just me being crazy or if you've seen it too. I rolled out before the sun touched the highway, coffee in hand, engine warm, wheels humming. Kansas morning, flat, cool, still.
One of those rare calm stretches when it feels like the world's asleep and only trucks are moving. I was maybe 30 miles south of El Dorado, still riding I-35, heading toward Oklahoma. Load felt balanced, no drift, no drag. But the numbers on the dash weren't sitting right. I keep track of my miles and gallons in my head, always have. I don't need no fancy app to tell me when something's off. Yesterday, I filled up full in Salina. I should have been getting around 6.8, maybe 7 mpg, depending on headwind and terrain. This morning, after about 200 miles, I should have burned 30 gallons, give or take. But my gauge said I was down damn near half a tank. That's not right. Not unless I've got a leak or I'm pulling a trailer made of bricks. I ran through the mental checklist. Tire pressure was good, engine wasn't over-revving, no warning lights, temps and pressures were steady. I'd been on cruise at 65 almost the whole time. No idling, no high RPM, no mountains. The numbers didn't add up. And in this business, when they don't add up, something's wrong. You might not see it yet, but it's there. Pulled into a rest area near Cassaday. Middle of nowhere. One of those places with faded signs, vending machines from the 90s, and one lonesome guy mowing grass that doesn't grow. I eased into a spot near the edge, cut the engine, and stepped out. I didn't even walk to the restroom right away. I went straight to the tanks. Driver's side first, nothing. Dry ground. No odor. I bent low, ran my fingers under the tank, checked for wet spots. Clean. Passenger side next. Same deal at first glance. Then I stepped back and looked at the side panel behind the tank. That's when I saw it. A thin, dark line trailing from the bottom lip of the filler neck down the side of the tank, dried. Like a drip that ran long and slow and caught some dust. Didn't look fresh. Looked like it happened maybe yesterday afternoon, right about the time I stopped near Emporia. I popped the cap again. It hissed a bit, normal. Vent release. Inside looked fine. Nothing stuck in the opening, no blockage I could see. But that streak had me bothered. Diesel don't just come out on its own. And I know I didn't spill it. I'm careful at the pump. Always am. I stood there a long minute just staring at that streak. Rubbed it with my thumb. It smudged a little but didn't vanish. Something had definitely leaked. But if it was a leak, why didn't it drip overnight? Why wasn't the tank empty this morning? It was like someone had opened the cap for a second, let a splash out, and closed it again. I walked back to the cab, sat behind the wheel, and pulled out my little black notebook. I don't write much, just mileage, fill-ups, dates, tire pressure,
Oil change intervals. Old habit. Flip back to yesterday's entry. Salina, full tanks, 168 gallons. Odometer, 482,223. This morning, odometer, 482,417. That's 194 miles. Gauge says half a tank gone. Should have been a third, max.
I leaned back and stared at the windshield. Something wasn't right. I went inside the rest area, hit the john, washed up, passed another driver on the way out, a guy in a hoodie and faded cap, driving a reefer unit. He gave me the quick nod. I gave it back. Nothing more. Out in the lot, I took a slow walk past my trailer. Everything looked secure. No busted seals, no cut locks, nothing shifted inside from what I could tell. I opened my side box, grabbed my flashlight, and crawled under, checking fuel lines. All clean, not a drop. Nothing hanging, no fresh damage. If someone wanted to screw with me, they didn't cut lines. Sat in the cab again, engine off, window cracked. Thought about the guy at the Loves in Salina. Some kid with a mullet and a Bluetooth earpiece, standing around by the pumps, not fueling, just loitering. I remembered he looked at my rig a few seconds too long. Not long enough to yell at him, but long enough to log it in my head. He wasn't driving anything, just stood there holding a cup and talking into his mic. Maybe he was waiting on a ride. And maybe he wasn't. I pulled out my phone, opened the calculator, ran the numbers again. Same story. More fuel gone than makes sense. Either the truck's lying to me or someone took something that wasn't theirs. I didn't call it in. Didn't know what I'd even say. Hey, officer, I think someone maybe messed with my fuel cap yesterday? Yeah, good luck with that. No camera, no proof, no witness. They just write it down and forget it. I sat for another 20 minutes just thinking. This wasn't a prank. No kid pops a cap and walks away unless they're trying to get a rise out of you. But this didn't feel like a joke. This felt methodical, like someone wanted me to keep driving, not blow up, not break down right away, just wear out. Diesel ain't cheap. Losing 10, 15 gallons over a few hundred miles adds up fast. You start questioning your equipment. You start doubting your senses. Before I rolled out, I grabbed a clean shop towel, folded it neat, and set it on the dash. Just something to remind me. I ain't gonna forget that streak. Not gonna forget that smell either. I told myself I'd check the cap at every stop now. Every time I get out, every time I stretch my legs, that cap's getting a twist and a sniff. Whatever this is, it's not over. I just don't know who's playing the game yet. I made it to the outskirts of Wichita by noon. Sun was high, air dry, and that steady Kansas wind kept leaning into the rig like it had somewhere to be. I stopped just outside of TA. Didn't go in right away. Pulled off to the side lot, parked by the edge where the older trucks usually sit. Killed the engine. Sat there for a second, tapping my fingers on the steering wheel. That gauge had kept dropping too fast all morning. Something was bleeding me slow and quiet. I was past second guessing now. Grabbed my gloves and flashlight, climbed down, and went straight to the passenger tank. Fuel cap looked fine from a distance. No drip line this time, but I was already expecting that. Whatever this was, it wasn't going to show up twice in the same way. I twisted the cap off and peered in. First thing I noticed, dark ring around the inside lip. Not sludge, not dirt from bad diesel. Looked like fabric grease, old, blackened, oily. I stuck 2 fingers in, slow, careful. They bumped something soft. I pulled out a rag. Not a full rag, just a tight, greasy knot of old cloth, jammed maybe 3 inches down the filler neck. Looked like the corner of an old red shop towel, the kind you'd wipe dipsticks with and never wash. I stood there holding it like it was a goddamn snake. No way that ended up there by accident. You don't lose a rag into a fuel tank unless you're trying to ruin someone's week. My stomach dropped. This wasn't just some idiot being stupid. This was deliberate. And it wasn't meant to destroy me on the spot. It was meant to foul things slowly. Cloth like that could soak up enough diesel to swell and restrict flow, maybe screw with pressure.
Maybe send fibers through the filter, clog the lines, burn out the pump. It was sabotage, plain and simple, slow burn style, the kind that makes you blame the truck, the fuel station, or your own damn maintenance schedule. I walked over to the trash can near the lot entrance and dropped it in. And I stood there a while just watching traffic on the access road, thinking, trying to rewind the clock. Whoever did that had maybe 10 minutes, 15 tops when I was out of the cab. A turnoff near Emporia. Wide shoulder, no cameras. I was out walking, stretching, maybe checking my straps. My cab wasn't locked, I'll admit that. I don't always lock it when I'm close by. You leave the keys in your pocket and you figure you're fine. Who the hell would mess with a fuel tank? I thought back to that kid at the Loves. Something about the way he leaned against the pillar, talking but not talking, like he was watching more than he was listening. Then I remembered there was a red pickup, older Tacoma, parked a few spots down. Not fueling, just sitting. Driver had a cap low over his face, windows up, engine off. At the time, I thought maybe he was sleeping, but now in my head, that truck's sitting too quiet, like it was waiting. I walked back to my rig, locked the cab this time and sat inside with the AC running, pulled out my notebook, flipped back to the last couple days, jotted down red pickup, love Selena, not fueling. Then underneath, rag in tank found near Wichita. I don't usually do that, not the paranoid stuff. I stick to numbers. But this was different. This wasn't just a bad hose or a loose cap. This was someone putting hands on my truck. I called Tommy. Tommy's an old buddy, runs reefer between Colorado and Arkansas. We met at a way station 5 years ago, swapped stories over bad coffee, and kept in touch since. He knows when to shut up and when to listen.
I hit his number. He picked up on the third ring, engine noise behind him. "Jake," he said, "ain't heard from you in a while. You alive or just out of diesel?" "Funny," I said. "You hauling today?" "Cows, westbound. You all right?" "Got a question," I said. "You heard anything about rigs getting messed with in Kansas? Fuel tanks, sabotage type stuff?" He went quiet a second. Then, "What kind of sabotage?" "Like someone stuffing a rag in the filler neck, enough to make you think your filter's bad or your pump's dying." Another pause. "Where?" "Near Emporia. Cap was loose. Then today I find a damn rag down the neck. Not deep, but enough." "Shit," he muttered. "Okay. Yeah, I do." We sat quiet for a beat. Then he said, "You think they're picking rigs at random?" "Could be. Could be they're testing something, seeing what works, how long it takes before someone notices." "I don't like that," he said. "Me neither." "You change routes?" "Not yet, but I'm thinking about it." He said, "Keep your cap tight, man, and stop using that TA off I-70. That's where the guy said he fueled before his filter blew." "Copy that," I said. "Appreciate it." We hung up. I stared out the windshield a long while, watched a tanker roll past, wheels clean, chrome shining. No one suspects a damn thing until their check engine light comes on 100 miles too late. I looked down at the gauge. Tank still over half. I tightened both caps again, double-checked my seals, and rolled back onto the highway. From that point on, I watched every lot, every parked truck, every guy standing around not doing much. I wasn't looking for a fight. I was just looking for sense. Because whoever did this, they didn't want noise. They wanted slow damage, quiet damage. The kind that gets blamed on the machine, not the man. That's what stuck with me. That's what crawled under my skin. And that red pickup, man, I'd see it again. I didn't know when, but I was sure of it. I pulled into a gravel lot behind a shuttered diner just south of Wellington, Kansas, Killed the engine and dug the notebook out of the glove box. Wasn't much to look at. Just a black cover with dog-eared pages and oil smudges across the front. Inside, mileage, fuel stops, service notes, a couple names, numbers, and some quick chicken scratch from earlier that morning. I sat in the cab with the window half down, flipping pages, tracing my route with my finger like I was drawing a crime scene. Salina. That's where I fueled up. Love's, pump number 5. Late afternoon. That's where I saw the kid in that red Tacoma.
Then, about an hour later, I pulled over near Emporia. Gravel shoulder off I-35. Nowhere special. 10, maybe 15 minutes tops. I remember walking a few paces into the field to take a leak, came back, stretched, checked the tires. Cap was loose when I looked next. Next day, fuel burned too fast. Day after that, I find the rag. I took out a pen and circled the 3 spots, Salina, Emporia, Wichita. Then I drew a line between them. All tight. All right along I-35. That corridor sees thousands of rigs every day. Too many to track. But someone was doing something in that stretch. Not stealing fuel, not cutting hoses, just enough tampering to cause damage downstream, so the truck fails later, downstate, out of warranty, somewhere far from where it started. I looked out across the empty lot. Dust blew through a hole in the fence. Old Budweiser sign flapping in the wind. Place had been closed maybe 2 years, judging by the weeds. I liked spots like that. Nobody bothered you. Nobody watched. I leaned forward, unlocked the glove box, and pulled out my road atlas. Yeah, I still use paper. Habit. I traced my finger down the map of Kansas, hitting the same points. Salina, Emporia, Wichita. Right in the middle of the state. My gut told me it wasn't coincidence. Someone was using the corridor like a test track. I made a call to Jerry. Jerry runs a parts yard and tow service out of Topeka. We met when I blew a steer tire a few years back and he dragged me in for repairs. Since then, he's been my ears when I need to know what's going on off the books. If something funny's happening in Kansas, Jerry hears about it before it makes it to dispatchers or DOT. He picked up after 2 rings. Sounded like he was chewing on something. "Jake," he said, "ain't you supposed to be in Texas by now?" "Running late." "Listen, you heard anything weird about sabotage, fuel systems, rag in a tank, cap tampering?" He didn't answer right away. Then, a couple owner-ups were in here last week, pissed off. One guy said his rig started coughing south of Emporia, replaced both filters, didn't help. Other guy swore someone pissed in his DEF tank, but nobody's got proof, just guessing. "DEF's one thing," I said. "This ain't that. This is slow, smart. Found a rag stuffed in my filler neck. Not deep, just enough." "Jesus," Jerry muttered. "You talked to DOT?" They'd laugh. "No damage yet, and it ain't stolen fuel." "Still," he said, "sounds like a pattern. You ain't the first." "I got 3 stops marked. Salina, Emporia, Wichita. That ring any bells?" "Shit," he said. "I know a guy out of Newton said something about a red truck following him for a bit, then vanishing when he pulled into a rest stop. Didn't think much of it." "You think that's your guy?" "Don't know, but I saw that truck in Salina. Didn't fuel, just sat there." "You want me to ask around?" "No names," I said. "Just see if anyone else has had weird fuel issues along that stretch. Anything subtle."
Low MPG, unexplained stalling, weird smells. You know the signs. "All right," he said, "but be careful. If someone's screwing with rigs for fun or profit, they ain't doing it alone." I hung up and leaned back in the seat. Thought about what Jerry said. Not doing it alone. That's the thing. You don't just wake up one day and start shoving rags in fuel tanks. You test, you watch, you wait. Maybe you've got someone driving ahead, someone feeding you info, a lookout, maybe even someone in a vest pretending to clean windshields. A team. Small, tight, probably been at it a while. I started the engine and got back on the road, but I kept the window cracked, listening to every sound the truck made. I started talking out loud just to hear myself think. All right, you're not stealing fuel, you're not torching engines, you're bleeding people. Quiet. Mess up the fuel system, make them blame the station, the mechanic, the parts supplier. Nobody ever thinks sabotage. Not unless it happens twice. And even then, you'd need to prove it, which nobody can. I hit the CB, check the chatter. Quiet. I keyed up. And hey, you boys running south past Wichita get a weird burn rate lately? Fuel not lasting like it should? Nothing but static. Then a voice cracked through. You running a white Freightliner with Texas plates? I blinked. Who's asking? Seen you back in Salina, Pump 5, same lot. You talking about that red truck? My skin crawled. Yeah, I said slowly. You saw it too? Didn't fuel, just sat there. Thought it was fishy. Figured he was waiting on someone. You get a plate? Couldn't see it. Too much dirt, but it had a dent in the back bumper passenger side. Chrome strip was peeling. That was enough to go on. I appreciate it. No sweat. Watch your tank, brother. World's getting weird. He signed off. I drove a few more miles in silence, then pulled off at a Flying J. Fueled up again, this time watching every angle of the lot. Didn't see the red truck, but that didn't mean much. If he was part of a team, he'd already be somewhere else, or parked behind a building watching through binoculars. Before I left, I did one more thing I hadn't done in years. I took a roll of duct tape and made a cross over both my fuel caps. Just a strip straight over the top, end to end. Not to seal them, just to make it obvious if someone touched them. If the tape was sliced, I'd know he's been there. Old school, but it works. Might not stop a guy, but it tells me when he's been there. Back in the cab, I wrote one more thing in the notebook. Not random, not sloppy. They're watching behavior, picking targets that don't notice fast. Then I underlined it twice. Whatever this was, it had a pattern now, and I was in the middle of it. I pulled into the Loves just south of Wichita. Mid-afternoon, sun bouncing hard off the pavement, air thick like it hadn't moved in hours. Lot was packed with the usual mix, reefer boys, flatbeds, day cabs, even a couple RVs had a place.
And I took the last spot at the edge by the fuel island, killed the engine, and sat there for a minute with the AC running. Something was crawling under my skin again, same as before. Not fear, not exactly, just that tight itch behind the eyes like you're being watched. I rubbed my neck, looked around the lot slow. Didn't see anything weird at first. Lot of movement. Drivers fueling up, locking in, standing around, smoking. I shut down the engine, stepped out, stretched my back. Truck had been riding fine since morning, but I'd been white-knuckling it all day. I locked around the cab, checked both fuel caps. Tape I'd put on earlier still clean, untouched. That gave me a little peace. But just as I came around the trailer, my eyes locked on it. A red Tacoma, sitting crooked in a corner near the dumpster. Same one, I swear to God. Chrome strip on the back bumper half hanging off, rear tire low on air. No one inside. Engine off. Dust on the windshield. It wasn't parked like someone was running inside to grab snacks. It was parked like someone was watching from the shadows. I stood there maybe a second too long, staring at it. Then I turned quick and walked into the store. Inside smelled like burnt coffee and rubber. I grabbed a bottle of water and a beef stick, paid cash, and asked the cashier, older guy, thinning hair, wearing a vest with a lot of pockets, "That red pickup out by the dumpster, been there long?" He shrugged. "Hour maybe. Ain't seen nobody in or out. Thought maybe it was broke down." "My device sit out front few minutes?" "Long ain't bothering nobody." I sat on the bench outside with my water, unwrapped the beef stick, chewed slow. From there I had a clean angle on the Tacoma through the side of the building. It hadn't moved, but now I could see something new. The passenger window had a sun visor jammed up against the glass from the inside, the kind with the foil backing. But that meant somebody was inside. You don't block windows unless you're hiding from sun or from people. 5 minutes passed, then 10. I got up, walked around the far side of the building, came in behind the Tacoma, slow. No plate on the front. Rear plate was half covered in grime, but I could make out the state. Oklahoma. No frame, no stickers, just dirt and rust. I took my phone out, snapped a quick shot just in case. Still no movement. I leaned in just a hair. Couldn't see inside. Right then, a guy came around the far corner walking fast, head down, hands in hoodie pockets. Looked up, saw me, stopped short. Not a big guy, maybe mid-30s, wiry, shaved head, sunburned neck. He glanced at the truck, then at me, then looked past me like I wasn't even there. Walked straight to the Tacoma, unlocked it, and climbed in without saying a word. Didn't even glance back. That kind of silence has a weight to it. I stood there, didn't move, watched as he sat there a second, started the engine, and then just sat, idle. Didn't back out, didn't turn the wheel,
Just let the engine rumble. I knocked once on the window. He didn't roll it down, just stared straight ahead. I knocked again, this time harder. He finally cracked it, 2 inches. "You been following me?" I asked. He didn't answer, just looked forward, eyes on the horizon like I wasn't worth the sound. "Answer the question," I said. He turned slow, eyes dark, cold, not angry, no expression. "I don't know you," he said. "You were in Salina, then Emporia, now here. That ain't coincidence." He didn't blink. "You got proof?" "I got eyes." "Then use 'em," he said, and rolled the window up. I stood there, knuckles clenched, brains screaming, but I didn't do anything. Couldn't. That's how they get you. Make you react, make you swing, make you cross a line. And I wasn't about to catch an assault charge in a Love's parking lot over a maybe. I stepped back, pulled out my phone again, snapped 2 more photos. Driver's face, truck's rear. He didn't flinch, didn't hide, just sat there like he'd already won something I didn't know I was playing for. I walked back to my rig, heart thumping like a jackhammer, sat in the cab, locked the doors, turned the AC on full blast. Checked the fuel caps again. Tape still clean, still sealed. 10 minutes later, I watched him pull out. He didn't gun it, didn't look back, just merged slow and headed south, blending in with the afternoon traffic like he was never there. I wrote it all down. Time, location, partial plate, make and model, his face, every damn word he said. Then I called Jerry again. "I saw him," I said. "The truck?" "Yeah. Driver 2. You get a plate?" "Half a one. Oklahoma. Got a photo, though. Got his face." "You confront him?" He played dumb, like I was the crazy one. Jerry grunted. "Typical. They want you off balance, want you to doubt yourself. Well, I'm done doubting." "You think he's working alone?" I shook my head, even though he couldn't see me. "Nah. Feels bigger. Too clean. Too slow. They know the rhythm. Know when drivers are distracted. Guy wasn't hiding. He was collecting." "Collecting what?" "Info. Reactions. Timing. Maybe results. I don't know, but he ain't just some pissed-off local." "You gonna report it?" I looked out at the highway. The sun was going down, shadows getting longer. "Not yet," I said. "Not until I know what to say." Because here's the thing. You tell a cop someone's following you and maybe tampering with your rig, they ask for proof. Not suspicion, not feelings, but real, documented, time-stamped proof. And even if you have it, what are they charging him with? Parking near you? Looking too long? No, I needed more. And next time, I'd be ready. Because now, I wasn't just watching for him. I was hunting.
I parked up at a way station just north of the Oklahoma line, one of those smaller ones with a single lane and a shack that looked like it doubled as a hunting blind. No line, just me and two other rigs parked off to the side waiting on green lights. Inside the cab, I was sweating.
Not from heat, AC was blasting, but from holding in 3 days' worth of slow-burning pressure. The kind of pressure that comes from being followed, baited, ignored, and outplayed. I needed to tell someone, even if it went nowhere. The trooper who waved me in was young, maybe 28, buzz cut, looked like he hadn't seen 10 years of anything yet. Didn't even ask for papers at first, just pointed to the curb with 2 fingers and mouthed, "Park it." I did. Sat there with the engine ticking down, window halfway open, fingers drumming the door frame. I watched him finish up with the flatbed ahead of me, then walk over, tablet in hand. "DOT number?" he asked. I gave it. He typed, scrolled, squinted at the screen. "Where are you headed?" "Fort Worth." "Load?" "Dry goods. Sealed trailer, mixed pallets." "Where are you coming from?" "Omaha, by way of Salina." He nodded, half listening, more interested in his tablet. Then I leaned out the window. "Can I run something by you, off the record?" He looked up, suspicious now. "Depends what it is." I held up both hands. "Ain't a crime. Not mine, anyway. Just something's going on out here." He crossed his arms. "I'm listening." So I laid it out. Quick, clean, nothing fancy. Loose cap at Emporia, rag in the filler neck, fuel numbers not adding up, red Tacoma showing up at more than one stop, driver acting like he's casing trucks. And most of all, how subtle the damage is. Nothing catastrophic, just enough to knock you out of service, leave you blaming filters or pumps. Costing money, time, never obvious. Trooper didn't write anything down, just stood there, nodding once or twice, then said, "You got proof?" I got photos, plate partial, guy's face, timestamps, truck make and model. "You want it? I'll send it to you." He sighed. "You're not the first." That stopped me. "What do you mean?" He looked around, like checking for someone listening, then leaned on the door frame. "Last 2 months, we've logged half a dozen incidents like this. Fuel issues, sabotage, but soft. No real evidence. Same stretch, Wichita to Oklahoma line, mostly long-haul guys, mostly independents. Nothing caught on camera, no arrests. Every time it's the same. Cap left loose, some foreign object in the neck, just enough to screw pressure or burn filters, but nothing we can build a case on." "So you're saying it's real?" "Oh, it's real, but it's clean. Too clean. Whoever's doing it knows how to stay below felony lines. Tampering is hard to prove without fingerprints or direct footage. And half the time, the drivers don't even notice until 100 miles later." "Any theory?" He shrugged. "Could be insurance fraud. Could be some psycho testing reactions. Could be someone trying to damage fleets from the inside. We don't know. We're watching it, but our hands are tied. You want to file a report? I'll log it. Just don't expect much back." I looked him in the eye. "You ever seen the red Tacoma?" He shook his head. "Nope.
But I'll keep my eyes open now." I gave him my name, my number, told him where I'd be over the next couple days. He tapped it into his tablet, nodded again, and waved me back onto the road. 10 miles south, I pulled into a dirt lot behind a closed gas station and just sat for a while. Engine off, wind whistling through the cracks in the passenger door seal. I opened the notebook again, flipped to the last page, and started writing. Not numbers this time, just words, sentences, phrases. The way the guy looked at me without blinking. The way the trooper said, "You're not the first." The way every single piece of this felt tested, measured, repeatable. I sat there until my phone buzzed. It was Tommy again. "You talked to anyone yet?" he asked. "Yeah. Highway Patrol. Way station trooper. He says I'm not the only one." Tommy whistled low through the receiver. "So it's a pattern." "It's a game," I said, "and we're the pieces." "What now?" "I change up. Routes, stops. No more of this I-35 corridor for a while, not until I know what's happening." He was quiet, then said, "You think someone's running an op, like organized?" "Feels like it," I said. "Feels like they're learning, watching which drivers notice and which don't, seeing how far a truck gets before it breaks down." "What's the end game?" "No idea," I said. "Maybe they're targeting certain companies, maybe it's just chaos, but I'm not sticking around to be another test case." Tommy exhaled hard. "You think they'll follow you?" "They already did once." "You still got that guy's photo?" "Yeah." "Send it to me. I'll pass it along westbound. Got a few boys heading through Dodge and Amarillo. If he pops up, we'll know." I sent it. Didn't say anything else. After the call, I sat there in the still heat of late afternoon, staring out at the 2-lane highway running west. I thought about all the trucks I'd passed that week. How many had been touched? How many drivers didn't know they were running hot, running dry, running into the ground? Then I realized something. Nobody's going to stop this unless we start talking to each other. Not in forums, not on dispatch lines. Real talking, lot to lot, CB to CB, old way, the only way that still works. I keyed up my mic. "This is Jake, white Freightliner southbound near the line. If anybody's seen fuel tampering in the last week, loose caps, MPG drops, strange rigs tailing you, speak up. You're not crazy. You're not alone." Silence. Then a click. Then a voice. "I lost 30 gallons between Wichita and Gainesville. Thought I was leaking. Shop found nothing." Another voice. "Cap was off when I got to Denton. Didn't touch it. I thought maybe I'd forgotten. Now I'm not so sure." Another. "Red Tacoma, huh? Chrome peeling off the back? I saw him near Ardmore, watching for behind a diner. Thought he was law." And then it kept going. I sat there in the heat, just listening. They weren't ghosts. They were witnesses.
I crossed into Texas just past sundown, sky turning that burnt orange you only get in this part of the country. Rig was running smooth, no hiccups, no warning lights, tanks still sealed with tape untouched. But I wasn't relaxed. I was wired tight, eyes on every side mirror, watching every car that came up behind me and stayed too long. After all the miles and all the signs, I wasn't about to let my guard drop just because the state line changed. Delivery was set for a drop yard outside Fort Worth. Nothing fancy. Big gravel lot behind a warehouse, chain link fence, keypad gate, 2 motion lights that only worked half the time. I pulled in late, almost midnight. Security booth empty. Just a clipboard zip-tied to the side of the gate with a printed sheet of names and times. I signed mine and backed the trailer into slot 22, same as the manifest. As soon as I dropped the landing gear and disconnected the lines, I did another full walk-around. Caps still sealed, nothing cut, no tampering. I stood there for a while, hand on the frame, breathing slow. Not from fatigue, but from the fact that I made it. And not just delivered the load. I made it through whatever the hell this thing was. Whatever game I got dragged into back in Kansas. It hadn't followed me down, not this time. Or maybe it had, and I was just better at not getting touched now. I slept in the cab that night, parked on the side of the lot with the other bobtails. No motel, didn't want to leave the truck alone. Woke up at sunrise, engine still off. Everything quiet except the occasional hiss of an air system on someone else's rig. I made instant coffee on the inverter, sipped it slow, staring through the windshield. And then a guy knocked on my door. Skinny kid, maybe 22,
High-vis vest too clean to be real, clipboard in hand. "You the guy from Omaha?" he asked. "Yeah." "A dispatch wants you to call in, something about a reschedule." Well, I didn't like that. Dispatch doesn't call through strangers with clipboards. I asked him for his name. He gave it too fast. I stepped out of the cab, took a better look at him. No radio, no ID badge, boots too new, not a spot of grease on him. The lot was real, the paperwork might have been, but he wasn't supposed to be talking to me. I said, "Who signed you in?" He blinked. "What?" "Who checked you in this morning?" He hesitated. The booth guy." "There's no booth guy, not until 9. He didn't run, he didn't fight, he just smiled, turned around and walked off across the lot, past the empty trailers, through the gap in the fence near the back, like he knew the route already. I followed, but not too close. He disappeared before I could catch up. By the time I made it to the fence, he was gone. Maybe into a car parked nearby, maybe just gone. But one thing was certain, he wasn't there for dispatch. He was checking something. Maybe the truck, maybe me. I called it in.
Not to the cops. They do the same nothing they always do. But to a buddy who works security for a mid-sized fleet out of Dallas. Told him the story. Told him to put the word out. Said someone's still running games, and they're not finished. Back in the cab, I peeled off the duct tape from both fuel caps. They were still sealed, still tight, but I didn't feel safe. I felt hunted. I drove empty to a yard west of town where I knew the manager, parked behind the building, and finally cut the engine. That was the last run I did along I-35 for a while. I called dispatch that evening and told them I wanted different lanes. West or east, didn't matter, just not that stretch. They asked why. I told them, safety reasons. They didn't argue. And from that day on, I changed a few things. Caps get checked every stop, no matter how short. No more open windows while parked. I added cheap tamper seals to both tanks, numbered, trackable. I started taking pictures of my rig every time I leave it. Not paranoid, just methodical, like clocking in and out. Because I've learned the hard way, someone out there is watching drivers, testing response, measuring silence, and they're good at it. I still think about the red Tacoma, the guy's face, the rag in the neck, how small the act was, and how big the effect could have been. It wasn't about blowing me up. It was about slowing me down, making me doubt my equipment, spend money, lose time. And maybe that's worse. Maybe that's smarter. I don't know if anyone ever caught them. I doubt it. Guys like that don't leave fingerprints. They leave patterns. And unless you're looking, you don't even know it's happening. But I know now, and I'll never run blind again. That's what the road teaches you. Not how to go fast, not how to get ahead, just how to survive. 1 mile at a time, 1 stop at a time. One decision between running clean and breaking down in the middle of nowhere, with no one to blame but yourself. I don't trust that stretch of I-35 anymore. Maybe I never should have.